Have some food. Is there overpriced grape leaves wrapped rice? Supposed to be able to. If I make it in a smiley face, it'll focus. Kind of good. Just some of that. Some Mediterranean style dishes that I've been putting on Instagram lately. These are those. They're not kidney beans, as somebody thought. They're Divina or Divina Gigantus beans in a vinaigrette. And stuff like that. Make sure I get enough protein. I actually don't usually eat the corn and things like that. Wheat, I try to cut out. The genetics seem to be warped, and apparently, from what I was told, genetics themselves are, sorry, it's like 8 sides. They disrupt the neurological system, cause inflammation, immune system suppression, or immunosuppression, and memory disturbances. Basically, it shuts off your consciousness. But I just wanted to say, if one has, or if I have, as I do now, for now, food to eat, nourishment, a way, a place to secure myself and stay warm, and some form of communal unity, which is what I worded it as before in my head, which is of course just community, then you have wealth. You have the wealth of life. You have what you need to live. And a good book, or I think, like I said on the ride, which I'm going to try and edit, audio edit. A lot of it's probably disturbed and disrupted or distorted, disturbed. It's angsty. Because I was on the bike riding masked up and with like a mic tucked in somewhere. And then I can use the earbud mic and it works just fine because the scarf and all that covers the wind block, which is the main issue with that, and it's pretty much fine to just go anyway right next to the cheek. But that's the wealth of life and enjoyment. I said I was reading or I was listening to the audiobook of Virtual Light by William Gibson, which is, it's a prophetic book. He's a visionary writer. That's what I said in the audio. And the information is from the projects. So it's like, he got it from somewhere. He's an insider. Or is. It's like in the 80s, and it's about all the tech that was, known about now, but was present back then, but wasn't released. It still isn't fully released. But people are like, all right, this is possible. It's like, why wouldn't it be? People in the know. And so you have the enjoyment of life right there. Emphasis, really not emphasis on either of shelter, food, intellectual stimulation, which is a form of entertainment as well, if you will, but combined. But still something you can learn from. An art, a knowledge, and community, belonging, purpose. I think people seek purpose. I think I need to have a sense of purpose and a sense of belonging or fulfillment, something I can do to influence others, so I know I exist as a part of something larger, an integral part where I can, in a way, share myself with the world and learn from them and be shared with and reflected with and onto in response and exchange in that sense. That's what we really want. people will chase, addictions, abuse relationship suffering, continuous suffering, a cycle, all types of all types of self delusion, identity delusion. That makes it worse. But in these times, I often do get reflective because I think of the less fortunate, and I try to do my part to help when I see people and things like that. And you kind of usually have to give, obviously, like clothes or food or something like that, because there's a rampant basically heroin epidemic, drug addiction epidemic, and it's either pills, heroin, and that's pretty much it. That's what it is. And they're basically the same system ran by the same people, if you want to think about it. So, the pharmaceutical. So it's hard to help people that are down and out, and the type of people you often might see in the streets, or one often might see. And a lot of times it's not, because it'll be a family or again a small family, like a parent-child maybe, and that's like hidden in America. It's more prominent in other countries, but it happens here. And there's not enough resources to secure everyone. So, that's where it gets me. We're in a war. We're in a genetic war. And what is basically being prodded in an attempt to turn it into a class war. And there's so much beauty in what's already here. And half the world is moving so far ahead that the other half has a limited window of being able to keep up before they're no longer relevant, and literally, faced with the type of extinction that other species, other racial groups, cultures have faced. And there's advanced technology watching the whole thing, saving people, or harassing people. It's a story into itself. But yeah, I don't know. I just want to say things like this sometimes. It makes me think. It makes me think about how we can help one another and help overcome one another's suffering. There's always a way, there's always something you can do, and often communicating, befriending, acknowledging, offering advice or assistance, or to listen, or something useful is all it takes. Because if we all had that in the foreground of our mind, as if it were normal, because people don't consider it normal, yet it's reasonable to compete until we are all dying, we wouldn't be in the problem we are collectively. And that is the shame, that y'all just be nice to each other. It's like we wouldn't have wars planned in advance to entangle the population in problems that didn't exist. So, and then there's these other situations that that's happening because of a potentially larger problem, or so on and so forth. But I'm not going to get into that. So this is like another video. Get back to the regularly scheduled deprogramming. Maybe irregularly scheduled. Irregularly unscheduled deprogramming. And probably start editing that and to get into a post that I have that I'm finishing. I already put one out, and I've put a couple out recently. They kind of just began again. Yeah, I want to see change. I'm gonna put a link. Pac Lives just did his own version of the What is the game? It's a game that it's full of Deus, spelled Deus Ex, Deus Ex. It's usually Deus Ex Machina or Deus Ex Machina, which is like I think the hand of God. It's a literal. What is it? Like a mechanism. I can't think of the word. Literal device, not a device. I think it's like a literary. I guess it's a literary device where the solution is provided by some act of higher power or some coincidence or some kind of giveaway meaning, or in some cases it's kind of like, okay, that was like the quick way, easy way to end the story, to wrap it up, and it's done, immaculately. It's like it makes you believe in a higher force because there's some element of that you can relate to your own lives or your own life, and you kind of resonate with and identify with the character of the story, the overcoming. But the video game is full of either disinfo or info, disclosure, soft disclosure, however when you look at it, however you want to look at it. But I'm going to post the other one. I'll probably post both of them because they're both interesting and they're both. I pretty much explain some things. Remember, you get one way, and then it's the reverse of that which is true, and sometimes the antithesis of both of those will be what is actually. So it's like 3 layers of recursive or reflexive disinformation and information layered. And for instance, a lot of things that they're like, oh, they're taking over, they're doing this, they're going to force people to do this. It's like, well, that's because that's the good version, and they're trying to steer you away from that, make you afraid of it. And it's like, why do you think they're putting that out everywhere if video games is than the other? And it's like, oh, it's really helpful to do, another way or something like that. Anyway, that's that. I'll probably post that. And then, get back to the other post and editing the stream of consciousness video. That will be the last stroll-like video through my mind. Although it's riddled with, or it's like laced with information and discussion on these topics, such as the connection of the observance of time as the observance of seasons, as the observance of holidays, as the original observance of ancient pagan goddesses and rituals, as consciousness altering methods. And that's why the holidays, people say they're actually pagan rituals, and the days of the week and the names of the months, it all comes from that. But knowing yourself and being able to look through time and remember what you did and where you were at these checkpoints throughout the way, it's part of evolving consciousness. And see the Chiron Last video I linked on the blog and on Facebook, and I'll probably put it on Twitter. It is, I believe, the Templar, the key to being a student of the law. That's what's happening. It is a spiritual tuning, and this is a resonating like a tuning fork or 2 tuning forks of master slave. That's terrible terminology. I really don't know why they have it like that, but it's because of what it leads to. Computers were designed after the advanced technology that interacts with your mind was discovered. And computers were designed after the first computer was discovered. And it's just the pendulum of consciousness will swing back and forth until the person becomes unmovable. And it's my choice if they do. Or natural inclination towards gaining control. And thereby true self-awareness, because they will know how to move you. Okay, they've been doing it for thousands of years. They perfected it. And so, maybe not perfected it, but yeah. They will move you. And that's happening to the world. The whole world's getting thrown one way, and then it's back up this way. We gotta worry about that. Oh, let's enjoy this. Crazy over the pleasure of that. Oh, I'll get mad at this person, be mad at that, and then go back. It's a pendulum. It stops when people stop reacting. People stop moving. And when that happens, it only happens by choice. When does the pendulum stop? Is it an accident? You just run into something? That only creates more motion. It only stops when it absorbs the motion, when a person absorbs what's happening and comes to awareness and controls themselves. And the tuning fork resonates at its own frequency, even with all these other tuning forks bouncing around and getting in its face. And it's like, nah, it doesn't work that way anymore. So that's what's happening. Check out those links. Thank you.